Footnotes from the Life Application Study Bible. According to God's law, every Jewish male was required to go to Jerusalem 3 times a year for the great festivals. In the spring, the Passover was celebrated, followed immediately by the week-long Festival of Unleavened Bread. Passover commemorates the night of the ancient Israelites' escape from Egypt, when God killed the Egyptian firstborn sons but passed over Israelite homes. Passover is the most important of the 3 annual festivals. At age 12, Jesus was considered almost an adult, so he probably didn't spend a lot of time with his parents during the festival. Those who attended these festivals often traveled in caravans for protection from robbers along the roads of Palestine. The women and children would usually travel at the front of the caravan, and the men would bring up the rear. A 12-year-old boy could have conceivably been in either group, so both Mary and Joseph probably assumed that Jesus was with the other one. But when the caravan left Jerusalem, Jesus stayed behind, absorbed in his discussion with the religious leaders. The temple courts were famous throughout Judea as a place of learning. The Apostle Paul studied in Jerusalem, perhaps in the temple courts, under Gamaliel, one of its foremost teachers. At the time of the Passover, the greatest rabbis of the land would assemble to teach and to discuss great truths among themselves. The coming Messiah would no doubt have been a popular discussion topic, for everyone was expecting him soon. Jesus would have been eager to listen and to ask probing questions. The depth of his wisdom astounded those teachers. Mary had to release her child and let him grow up, allowing him to fulfill his role as God's son, the Messiah. Fearful that she hadn't been careful enough with this God-given child, she searched frantically for him. But she was looking for a boy, not the young man who was in the temple, astounding the religious leaders with his answers. Letting go of people or projects we have nurtured can be very difficult. It is both sweet and painful to see our children growing into adults, our students into teachers, our subordinates into managers, our inspirations into institutions. But when the time comes, we must step back and let go, despite the hurt. Then our protégés can exercise their wings, take flight, and soar to the heights God intended for them. This is the first mention of Jesus' awareness that he was God's son. But even though he knew his real father, Jesus did not reject his earthly parents. He returned to Nazareth with them and lived under their authority for another 18 years. God's people do not despise human relationships or family responsibilities. If the Son of God obeyed his human parents, how much more should we honor our family members? Don't use commitment to God's work to justify neglecting your family. Jesus' parents didn't understand what he meant about his father's house. They didn't realize he was making a distinction between his earthly father and his heavenly father. Jesus knew that he had a unique relationship with God. Although Mary and Joseph knew he was God's son, they didn't understand exactly what his mission would involve. Besides, they had to raise him, along with his brothers and sisters, as a normal child. They knew he was unique, but they couldn't fully grasp what was going on in his mind. The Bible does not record any events of the next 18 years of Jesus' life, but Jesus was undoubtedly learning and maturing. As the oldest in a large family, Jesus most likely assisted Joseph in his carpentry work. Joseph may have died during this time, leaving Jesus to provide for the family. The normal routines of daily life gave Jesus a solid understanding of the Judean people. The second chapter of Luke shows us that although Jesus was unique, he had a normal childhood and adolescence. In terms of development, he went through the same progression we do. He grew physically and mentally. He related to other people, and he was loved by God. A full human life is balanced. Thus, it was important to Jesus, and it should be important to all believers, to develop fully and harmoniously in each of these.